Good afternoon. This Saturday, May 17th, 2025 meeting of Senate Finance Committee will come to order. We have two bills on the agenda. The second one will be recessing till after the Pension Commission meets. But we're taking up House File 1143. Senator McEwen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased today to be able to appear before the Finance Committee to present House File 1143. This bill provides additional funding for our school districts around the state in being able to meet the needs for unemployment insurance for hourly school workers. As this committee is probably well aware, before 2023, hourly K through 12 school workers in Minnesota doing jobs such as bus driving, nutrition work, clerical staff, and education support aides had been excluded from receiving unemployment insurance compensation. The reason for this exclusion was the perception often that these workers only had these jobs because they needed something to do while their children attended school during the day. This workforce, made up primarily of women and women of color, have been consistently undervalued, overlooked, and underpaid. Other workers with similarly predictable seasonal employment, but who are working in a more male-dominated workforce, have had access to unemployment insurance since the inception of the program. Then in 2023, the Minnesota legislature passed legislation to bring hourly school workers into the unemployment insurance benefit program. And in so doing, it righted a decades-long wrong and helped set conditions for a stronger, better staffed, and more successful public school system. The program so far has been tremendously successful, Mr. Chair, and this bill provides some additional funding, as I said, for our school districts around the state to make sure that they are not having to bear those costs as we explore how going forward the needs for this particular unemployment is going to be covered. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator McEwen. Mr. Nauman, are you or Ms. Hoffman?
So, Mr. Chair, just briefly, I'll give some conceptual discussion of what's being proposed in the legislation in House File 1143, and then Ms. Hofer has prepared a spreadsheet, and I'll ask, with your permission, for her to maybe walk through the details. Members will recall that the NLX train proposal was funded with general fund resources 2 years ago at about $194.7 million. Of that amount, 373 was encumbered. As of, I think, just this morning, we checked that number. And the proposal in front of the Finance Committee this morning is to cancel 77.232 of that appropriation, leaving $117.1 million of the original NLX appropriation. And then I'll leave it to Ms. Hofer to talk about how those resources are being used and how they affect the special education appropriation, and then are ultimately appropriated per the author's intent.
Thank you. Ms. Hofer, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Jenna Hofer. I am the nonpartisan fiscal analyst assigned to the K-12 education committees. Members, you should have just received a spreadsheet. At the top left-hand corner, it's titled House File 1143, Northern Lights Express Passenger Rail Project Cancellation and Hourly School Worker Unemployment Aid Appropriation. This spreadsheet details the general fund changes and the special revenue fund changes as a result of this bill. Lines 1 through 8 describe the general fund changes as a result of this bill. Line 2 shows the Northern Lights Express Passenger Rail Project. On line 3, you can see that section 2 of the bill would cancel $77,232,000 in fiscal year 2026 from the project. Line 4 begins the school unemployment aid changes. On line 5, you can see that in section 3, the bill would reduce special education aid appropriations by $683,000 in fiscal year 2026, $22,085,000 in fiscal year 2027, for a biennial total of $22,768,000. And in the 28-29 biennium, appropriations are reduced by $47,392,000. This is a result of how the school unemployment aid is tracked. For a little background detail, the 2023 legislature provided $135 million for school unemployment aid. And at that time, it was assumed that once that funding ran out, then districts would begin billing any eligible special education costs for hourly workers for unemployment to special education aid. So under the February 2025 forecast, there's an assumption that that school unemployment aid appropriation will run out in the middle of fiscal year 2026. And as a result, some of those costs will begin being billed to special education aid. So by providing additional school unemployment aid in fiscal years 26 and 27, it would reduce the amount of it would reduce the amount of eligible expenses billed to special education aid, thereby reducing the amount of aid that districts would receive. So that's the reduction you see on line 5. Line 6 shows the additional appropriation for school unemployment aid under section 4 of the bill. So it'd be $100 million in fiscal year 2026, and this appropriation is transferred to the school unemployment aid account in the special revenue fund. Under section 1 of the bill, this would be made available through June 30th, 2028, and this would allow the fiscal year 2027 aid to be paid on the normal K-12 education aid payment schedule, which provides 90% of the payment in fiscal year 2027 and the remaining 10% in fiscal year 2028. On line 7, you see the net total for school unemployment aid. And for the 26-27 biennium, it's a net total change of $77,232,000. In the 28-29 biennium, it's a net reduction of $47,392,000. Line 8, you can see the total net general fund change as a result of sections 2, 3, and 4 of the bill. In fiscal year 26-27 biennium, there's a net general fund change of 0, and in the 28-29 biennium, it's a reduction of $47,392,000. Line 9 begins the special revenue fund changes, and these are a result of the school unemployment aid appropriation being transferred to the special revenue fund. So on line 11, you can see the appropriations that will be made out of the school unemployment aid account. It's estimated that these will be about $30 million for fiscal year 2026 and about $70 million for fiscal year 2027. This is actually shown on the entitlement basis rather than the appropriation basis, as we don't know exactly how those payments will be split. It's at this point believed that that's about how much additional revenue is needed to cover the expenses for those 2 fiscal years. And then on line 13 of the spreadsheet, you can see the school unemployment aid appropriation transferred into the special revenue fund from the general fund. And that would be the transfer of $100 million in fiscal year 2026. Line 14, you can see that in total, the net special revenue fund change for the 26-27 biennium is 0, as is the 28-29 biennium. I'm glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hofer. Mr. Nauman.
So, Mr. Chair and members, I'll just make a quick reference to the global agreement. I know that all members have probably seen it by now, but on line 36 of that agreement is the other category. And so I know members will have an interest of where these, how these resources are being tracked. They will, in fiscal 25 through 27, because this bill nets out to 0, it's not immediately obvious where this expenditure is going to be tracked, but because it does, it's part of the other bill, and the tail for other bills is the value of the tail in this bill itself on line 8, a negative 47, essentially $400,000. So members, that's where this will be tracked. It's not part of any targets. It's what we would call an other bill.
Are questions from Ms. Hofer, Mr. Nauman, or go ahead. Senator Draheim, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Marty. Ms. Hofer, the special ed account that we're cutting, can you just, what is that? I'm not on education, I apologize. What is that approximately $23 million coming out of?
Ms. Hofer.
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, thank you for the question. So certain special education expenses for hourly workers can be billed to special education. So the hourly school worker unemployment costs can be billed to special education once the school unemployment aid account runs out. That's estimated to run out in the middle of fiscal year 2026. And once that runs out, those costs for the hourly school workers who work with special education and are eligible can then be billed. And so as a result of providing additional additional school unemployment aid in fiscal years 26 and 27, those costs would instead be billed to this school unemployment aid account instead of special education aid. And so as a result, it's more so a shift of these expenses being billed to school unemployment aid rather than special education. And as a result, you see that reduction in special education aid for those years because the costs will be billed to school unemployment aid.
Senator Draheim, continue.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Hofer. In the typical small school district, I have 23 school districts in my district. They're mainly very small. How would that affect the average school district? Will they notice any changes? Is this just a St. Paul accounting shift? Is that how you describe it?
Mr. Chair and Senator Draheim, thank you for the question. So any school district that has expenses for hourly school workers over the summer would see an increase in their funding from the state under this bill. And for the workers that are billed to special education, that wouldn't be reimbursed 100%. After state aids, it's, roughly, around, I believe it's about 80%. And so under the school unemployment aid, they would receive about 100%. And so those costs would be reimbursed at a higher amount under this bill. So districts would see an increase in the amount of aid they would receive under this bill as opposed to if the school unemployment aid account ran out.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ms. Hofer, I'm curious because we're doing more than just the 23 million in 26, 27. On the spreadsheet, I see another 42 million taken out in fiscal 28 and another 5.5 million taken out in fiscal 29 that I don't see reflected in the language on the bill. And can you tell me how that's being tracked or what the assumptions are there?
Ms. Hofer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, for the question. So the way that the special education aid line works is that once the school unemployment aid account runs out and districts begin billing their costs to special education aid, those aren't all paid across the same fiscal year. There are some costs that are reimbursed 100% in the current year, and so you see that in fiscal year 2026, that's the $683,000. And then most of the costs would be billed prior years. So the fiscal year 2027 appropriation would represent most of the costs that would be billed for fiscal year 2026. And so then the same is true for fiscal year 2028. That would account for most of those special education costs that would be billed for fiscal year 2027. And then in 2029, that would be the remaining 10% payment owed on those special education costs.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ms. Hofer, if I could just summarize what I think I heard, we're going to reduce the special ed aid account by 23 million almost. Move it down to the school unemployment aid account, but in fiscal 28-29, we expect that aid account then to pay out 42 million in fiscal 28, and then pick up just that last month of the 28-29 school year in fiscal 29. Am Am I reading that right?
Ms. Hofer.
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, so another way to think about this is that for fiscal year 2026, at this time, MDE estimates that there will be approximately $63 million in eligible expenses for the hourly workers over the summer. And in fiscal year 2027 and later, it will be approximately $70 million. And so of those amounts, a portion would be billable to special education aid. And so that amount that would be billable to special education aid is being captured on line 5 as no longer being billed to special education aid for fiscal years 26 and 27. And then because of how the expenditures flow through the special education formulas and when those are paid out on the aid payment schedule, you see the reductions across the 4 fiscal years as opposed to in the 2 individual years.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry if I'm not picking up on this very well. So, because there's, so we're expecting those costs to be paid, those unemployment costs to be paid out of the special ed unemployment aid appropriation, right?
Correct.
Or I'm sorry, no, under the special ed aid account, we expect those to be paid in fiscal year 28-29 out of the special aid account rather than out of the new school unemployment aid account.
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, so the amounts that you see on line 5 are what are forecasted to be booked to special education aid in the event that the school unemployment aid account runs out. So beginning in fiscal year 2028, when there's no longer aid in the school unemployment account, that's when districts would once again be able to bill to special education. And those amounts are still a part of the forecast, and those amounts are not being changed. So once the account runs out, some costs will be billed to special education.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ms. Hofer, let's say we didn't take any money out of special education. Would those monies be sitting idle because they can only be used to cover unemployment expenses, or could they be used by a school district for teacher pay, for supplies, for all the excess costs that we already see with special education students?
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, thank you for the question. So there wouldn't be any aid sitting idle in districts. It's just a matter of where districts bill their expenses to. Are they billing them to special education aid, or are they billing them to the school unemployment aid account?
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are we, let me ask, in the other bill, are we appropriating money to special education aid? And does that balance, does that account have a positive balance? And can it only be used for unemployment expenses, or could it be used for other special ed expenses?
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, these dollars could not be used for another expense. You would need to modify the special education aid formula to change the amount of expenses that are reimbursed or add additional reimbursable expenses.
Senator Pratt done, if not, Senator Howell in the meantime.
I'll come back to it, Mr. Chair.
Senator Howell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And, as I listen to discussion about the money and about that account, I'm still not clear on what can be expensed out of that account or not. But I'm a little concerned that it's a special education account and it's for special education aid. I think the last thing I want to do is go after that account to pay for anything else. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to make an amendment to offer an amendment, and I don't have it printed up, but I would like to strike on line 110. I'd like to strike the $77,232,000 $77,232,000 and insert $100 million and I'd like to delete section 3 and renumber as appropriate.
Senate Council want to restate that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On House File 1143, on page 1, line 10, delete 77,232,000 and insert 100 million. And on page 1, delete section 3.
On that amendment, Senator Howe.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think that there's still plenty of money in the Northern Lights account. This would not affect them that much, but I think we need to protect whatever that special education aid is. I would like to leave that in that account, let it be used for what it was originally intended before I take that and spend it elsewhere.
On that, Senator McEwen want to comment on it? I will, otherwise I'll say that I feel that the amount that's being taken out for this is a reasonable thing that all four caucus leaders agreed to, and but that's what the budget negotiation ended up with. I'll urge members to reject the motion. Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Can we maybe get an update, what is in that special education aid account? Is this a new account or is there existing money in there? It'd be nice to know what kind of the track record is of that account.
Mr. Nauman.
Mr. Chair, members, it's probably worth reminding folks that the amount that's being contemplated for reduction in special education in Section 3, it's not an account, it's not a direct appropriation, it's a forecasted estimate based on eligible expenses that can be billed to special education. So what the bill is proposing to do is to change the amount of estimated expenses that can be billed, because those expenses will now be paid for out of the unemployment appropriation that you see on the second side of the amount of the engrossment. So as a consequence, you can take a reduction to pay for the overall net part of the bill, because those expenses are no longer eligible to, a district wouldn't bill them to special ed. Instead, they would be paid for out of the unemployment account. So in a sense, that it's deemed an extra estimated special education appropriation in the forecast that's no longer needed, given what the bill is proposing to do.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But, if let's say that UIA doesn't run out, or let's say we don't need those forecasted expenses, right? What we've counted is that these expenses now are eligible for reimbursement, but our schools already are being under reimbursed for special education costs. And not to say that the unemployment expense for seasonal workers would be 100% reimbursed either, or we're assuming that they're 100% reimbursed when other expenses aren't. Am I mistaken on that?
Ms. Hoffer.
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, so the school unemployment aid account statute specifies that any expenses for hourly workers over the summer that would otherwise be billed to special education aid cannot be billed if they are reimbursed with the school unemployment aid money. So once that money runs out, then those costs can be billed to special education aid. But in any other event, they would not be billed to special education aid because they're already being paid for with the school unemployment aid.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But Ms. Hoffer, we're taking a cut to the forecast. We're presuming that those expenses won't be billable in the future, which is why we have a negative number, right?
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, so those expenses will not be billable in fiscal years 26 and 27 only because of how the K-12 aid payment schedule and the special education aid payment schedule work, that money is actually appropriated to districts over 4 years. And so you would see that money then be shifted essentially over to the school unemployment aid, because the school unemployment aid would be paying those costs. Beginning in fiscal year 2030, you would, if this was showing the full special education aid forecast, you would see amounts for the school hourly workers over the summer that could then be billed beginning in those fiscal years. Or I'm sorry, fiscal year 2028, you would see those, not fiscal year 2030.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're still booking a savings to the general fund. We fully expect, from what I heard before, that the school unemployment aid account will be exhausted by the end of fiscal 27, because we're about $30 million short for fiscal 26, and then we expect that expense to be about $70 million in fiscal 27. But we also have unemployment, or we have special ed expenses that aren't being covered at 100% today. And that if these expenses weren't allowable for reimbursement, if we sunset the program, then those monies could be used to reimburse other expenses. It's not really a general fund savings. And I guess maybe that's where I'm getting hung up on how we're getting the general fund savings.
Ms. Hofer.
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, so the Special Education Aid Statute 125A76 sets out what expenses are eligible for special education aid reimbursement. In order to change the amount of special education aid that would be provided to districts and the expenses that would be eligible, you'd need to modify the funding formulas in there to either change what is eligible and add additional expenses, or provide additional aid through some mechanism such as the cross-subsidy reduction factor in order to provide additional aid to districts. What this does is this simply switches where the expenses are eligible, whether they're eligible under special education aid or the school unemployment aid account. So districts would be reimbursed at a higher rate under the school unemployment aid account than they would be under the special education aid. So districts will see more funding for their eligible special education hourly workers who received unemployment benefits over the summer under this bill than they would under the current forecast, which projects that funding to run out in the middle of fiscal year 26, and then those expenses to be billed to special education.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, excuse me, so if what I just understood you say, that you actually get more reimbursement under the school unemployment aid account than you do under the special education aid account? So if we're plussing that up by 100 million and we're leaving the other one just in case that 100 million runs out, wouldn't it then, you could still rely on getting that reimbursement out of the special education aid reduction account, and there'd still be money, you'd still get some reimbursement rather than nothing? I mean, I would have to believe that this unemployment aid this special ed account is gonna run out. And as far as I'm concerned, we should leave it there to take care of those expenses, and we can plus up taking a little extra out of the NLX account, which is just sitting there doing, it's still plenty of money sitting there, even if we take the 100 million out of it, the extra 23 million. So I still think we're doing a better job taking care of our students in our schools if we take the 100 million out of the NLX and transfer it to this. So that's my proposal, that's my amendment. I still believe that it's a better economic situation to leave our schools in.
Yeah, Mr. Nahum, would you comment on?
So, Mr. Chair and Senator Howe, I'll try this one more time. I know that these are a lot of interacting statutes, and and proposals. What Section 3 is merely doing is recognizing that there are fewer eligible expenses billable to special ed under the language of the bill. And the bill is providing $100 million to, in total, and that's the appropriation you see on line 2.7, for expenses associated with summer UI workers. When that happens, expenses that would previously have been forecasted to be part of special education would no longer be there. So in theory, if you didn't do this and you didn't change the parameters of special education, because that seems to be the only way to capture that money would be actually to change the parameters of special education to absorb the additional money that I think your amendment contemplates. Absent that, you would have lower special education expenses and you would put more money into the passenger rail project account than is necessary to fund what the bill is contemplating to do. So you'd actually be canceling more rail than is needed, all things else being equal. And that's because expenses that would previously be billable to special ed are no longer being billable to special ed. And in the next forecast, I presume, MDE would estimate lower expenses associated with special education, absent any changes to the parameters of special education. And I realize this is very complex and there's a lot of interactions here. So my apologies.
Further discussion on the Howe amendment. Senator Dames.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And when you talked about certain expenses, could you tell me, Mr. Nauman, just give me an idea what you mean, what those expenses might be?
Mr. Nowlan.
Mr. Chair, I think I'll phone a friend and speak to, ask Ms. Hofer to speak about those expenses. I think they're basically summer worker UI expenses. I mean, expenses for
Ms. Hofer.
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, that's correct. So the expenses here that you're seeing reduced in the special education line are only the reimbursable part of the hourly workers' unemployment benefit. So because school districts are reimbursing employers, they don't pay the unemployment payroll tax. Whatever benefits those hourly workers over the summer would receive, the district would reimburse back to the unemployment trust fund. And so when the district receives that bill, they're able to bill some of those eligible costs to special education aid for those, say, special education paras. And as a result, that's what you see on line 5 of the spreadsheet. So those are the eligible expenses that we're talking about.
Thank you. Another question, Mr. Chair. I believe I heard you say that the 4 leaders had agreed to this 77,000 some odd, 7,700, 232,000, whatever it is. Could you tell me when that transpired? When that happened, this agreement?
Senator Dames, I don't know. I remember the governor and the leadership had come to the agreement, I think, by Thursday.
And you're saying that this was specifically part of that agreement?
Mr. Chair.
To take money out of the rail and move it?
Mr. Nauman.
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, what I can cite for you is the global budget agreements document that I presume it's dated May 14th. And on line 36 of that agreement, there is an assumed savings of $47,400,000 in the tails. And that number is on the spreadsheet directly attributable to this proposal. What you don't see is what's going on in fiscal years 25 through 26 and 27, and that's because there's a spend and a savings at the same time.
And so where was the amount of money taken out on line 2? Where is that shown on the spreadsheet?
Well, that would be on that same line listed as part of the other items, but you would also see the amount of that would also include the lines 5 and line 6, all part of that all 3 parts of that transaction are in that one line.
Thank you.
Is there further discussion on the Howe amendment? Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know we did this with the public safety bill. We referenced a bill that hadn't passed and took money from it. And I'm very concerned that we are again doing that same thing. It was classified as unprecedented, unique, all those synonyms. And now we're doing the same thing again. And it just seems to me that we would be better off just appropriating $100 million from Senator Howe's in Senator Howe's amendment rather than trying to pull money from a bill that may or may not be passed and signed into law. Either by Monday or we don't know what it'll look like in special session. In fact, this House file won't even exist in a special session. So I find it highly unusual, and I'm curious in how that would survive May 19th.
Senator Pratt, it seems to me this kind of thing happens when there are intertwining appropriations and we're passing lots of bills in a week or two of time. That's the kind of thing that's happened many times over the years, and this is just saying that should that bill pass, the appropriations that are spelled out would be reduced by these amounts. Go ahead, Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're going to be taking it from a House File 2433 or similarly styled bills. I get that. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what House File 1 in special session looks like. When we did this for the eviction, we raised a concern that it was, improper. And we were told, yes, it's unusual, and yes, it's unique, and yes, it's all this stuff. And here we go again, making it standard practice. When we have the ability in our budget rules to do a direct appropriation, and we have the money available in the account, and if we choose in special session through an education bill to then put money back into the NLX account, we can do that. But for what's here today, and for what the governor may sign prior to a special session education bill being approved, I think to me it feels like as you accused us of a few biennia ago, shifts and gimmicks. And I'm very concerned about it, Mr. Chair. I think we need to adopt the Howe Amendment, do a direct appropriation, and if we decide to put money back into the NLX because we have an education bill, then we can make that adjustment in the education bill.
Senator Pratt, this is not a shift or a gimmick. It's simply how the appropriations would work, and whatever is appropriated in the education finance bill would be the money for the special aid account would be reduced by this amount because there's not that need for it because we're appropriating the money for it here.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have yet to see, and I haven't been on the education committee, but I've talked to my school districts. I've never seen a year yet that the special ed folks that we have and the paras that we have actually go down in number. I mean, if we have the number, it always goes up. And I think that I know they forecasted this number, that this is going to be where it's at. I don't see the harm in taking that money and putting it in there because I believe that our expenses are going to be more than what's forecasted. Shocking me if it's not right, but I tell you what, most often, I don't know how many times we've hit the target here lately. So I would believe taking a little extra out of that NLX that's sitting there doing nothing and putting it in some place where there's probably a little bit better chance of it getting used is inappropriate action at this time. So, Mr. Chair, I again ask you to support the amendment. Thank you.
On the Howe oral amendment, Ms. Stengel, you want to repeat the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 1, line 10, delete $77,232,000 and insert $100 million. Those are both dollars. And on page 1, delete section 3.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Pratt.
roll call, please.
Roll call has been requested. Staff will take the roll.
Senator Marty?
No?
Senator Friends? No. Senator Pratt?
Yes.
Senator Champion?
No.
Senator Dames? Yes. Senator Draheim?
Yes.
Senator Howe? Aye. Senator Jazinski?
Aye.
Senator Mohammed? Senator Murphy?
Nope.
Senator Pappas? No. Senator Wickland? No. Senator Mohammed?
There being 5 ayes and 6 nays, the motion does not prevail. Further discussion on the bill. Senator Jazinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator McEwen, so again, you've known me to be pretty critical of the NLX, and I think we should be taking money out of there because I don't think it's ever going to come to fruition anyways. However, going back to 2023, that was $194.7 million that went into the transportation budget from the general fund as part of that target. And now we're doing shifts and gimmicks and taking that out of the transportation-related field and shifting it into education. Right now, Minnesota Transportation General Fund is less than 1% that goes to our roads and bridges and transportation, less than 1% of the general fund. We are currently $1 billion short every year on transportation, roads, bridges, all the other things, and we're now doing shifts and gimmicks, taking this money from the transportation side. Again, I'm okay with taking the money from the NLX because I've been very critical of that. I don't think that's a very good rate of return on that investment. I don't think it's the best thing we're going to be looking at. But from what I've seen in the Transportation Conference Committee, we're trying to use that money as well to balance that budget because we've given negative targets in the transportation side, but we've been told by leadership, no, we can't use that NLX money. But now we're using it here, so it's being used for one thing but not the other, and we're switching it from transportation now to education. So I'm against this. Again, I don't have any money taking money out of the NLX because I don't think it's ever going to come to fruition. That money's going to expire. But now we're shifting it away from transportation, which we're already desperately in need of. Our roads and bridges and transportation is rated at a C- to a D+, I think, by many people in the engineering side of things on transportation. So I'm against this. I think it's another shifting gimmick, taking money away from the transportation side. Thank you.
Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Senator Marty. I want to begin by thanking Senator McEwen for bringing this forward and carrying this. This is an important priority from my perspective, and I'm grateful that we're doing it. Senator Jazinski, I know you are on transportation and working on the conference committee, and you know that there is an interaction in your conference committee with NLX, and that funding, though not all of it, because wisely you are holding on to and appropriating a part of that funding for ongoing federal opportunity, which I appreciate. The House has taken a different position than the Senate on NLX, and the House has said they don't want to spend any more of NLX for anything else right now. But the Senate has not had that position, and I just want to be clear. So I know we're using language of shifts and gimmicks. That is not this. This is an absolutely funded proposal in an open and transparent way to make sure that hourly workers can collect unemployment. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Senator Jazinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Murphy, on that. So again, the concern that I've been told about taking money on the NLX, it puts that funding in jeopardy in the future. So if we're putting it in jeopardy, taking $77 million out of it, what's the difference of that and more money for transportation? I mean, maybe Mr. Nauman knows that, but that money is set aside for a federal match, and by taking $77 million or whatever the number here is, $77.2 million out of there, doesn't that put that funding in jeopardy as well? And how would we backfill that?
Mr. Nauman.
Mr. Chair and Senator Jazinski, I will confess not being the expert of whether that's required at this stage of the process to do the federal match. I think there were a lot of resources available last year in the Transportation Committee, or 2 years ago rather, and the Transportation Committee made a choice to appropriate a lot of the NLX federal matching money up front. I think it's far more common, had the circumstances fiscally been different, that the committee may have chosen to make matches sort of as, it's an overused term, but sort of pay as you go. And I think it's about 15 million for the first two steps of the phases of the match. I'm not the expert here, but I think there are sufficient resources to at least continue the NLX program. And some of these resources could be repurposed on a short-term basis, and then it's an open question whether the federal government will meet the match. And I know that you know this way better than I do, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Nevin. So again, and remind me again when this money expires. I believe it's 2029, is that correct?
Mr. Chair and Senator Jasinski, if you give me just a quick moment, I'll look it up.
Thank you. And then just to follow up, I think that would then go back to the general fund. If it expires, it goes back to the general fund.
Mr. Chair and Senator Jasinski, it appears to be June 30th, 2028 is the expiration.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the bill? If not, final comments, Senator McEwen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, members, I'd like to say that I appreciate the discussion, but frankly, I don't appreciate it at all. This is what happens when we don't have the political will to tax the ultra-wealthy in our state and in our country appropriately. We end up in a situation where we have to take money from a train that people have been working on and planning on from my community and in Northeast Minnesota for over a decade now, across the political spectrum as well. A train that we had hoped could bring veterans down to the VA, a train that we hope will bring business and more commerce and good, positive, sustainable development and choice to people up north. And this is not easy for me, and it's not easy for my constituents to take such a large chunk of this dedicated money. But when we're talking about the well-being of people and thousands of some of the lowest paid workers in Minnesota who had gone without unemployment benefits that other working Minnesotans had been receiving for decades, and we finally achieved that. I can't say that the money for that train is more important than the lives of all of those thousands of Minnesotans. So I am willing to do that. Unfortunately, I feel like I have to do that. But I want every Minnesotan to know that this is part of a larger choice. And the larger choice that is being made is to give tax breaks and tax loopholes to corporate power in our state, to not tax the wealthy appropriately, and then to take money from certain things that are really important, like good public transportation projects that the people of Minnesota have been working on for a long time, and reallocating it so that people can live. Those are the kinds of choices that we're having to make right now because of a lack of political will. So unfortunately, out of necessity, I ask members that you support this initiative so that we can make sure that these workers are able to receive the unemployment that they are entitled to and deserve, and that our school districts won't have to bear extra costs in order to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Friends moves House File 1143. Before that, Senator Dames wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And listening to the comments that were just made, I want to be honest about this. I think a lot of the problem comes about the decisions that were made in 2023, very careless decisions when we spent almost $39.5 billion, and now we're sitting here today debating why we're where we're at. So there's two sides to the story, and I just wanted to make sure both sides get told. When you spend recklessly and carelessly, like happened 2 years ago, we're going to have consequences. Today we're fighting those consequences, and I'm going to tell you something, folks. There's going to be a lot more of these consequences before the special session is done, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I might have the last word as the bill to author.
Go ahead, Senator McEwen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think when you have decades of underfunding of essential infrastructure in our state, and then you get a boon of mostly one-time money to try to make up for those decades of underspending and underfunding of essential services, that is what happens, especially when you're not willing to raise taxes on the wealthiest. So thank you.
Senator Dames.
As Senator McEwen stated, it's the will to do the right thing, and that will wasn't there back 2 years ago. Thank you.
On Senator Friends' motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion prevails. We do not have, the Pensions Commission has not, thank you, Senator McEwen and Ms. Hofer. Pensions Commission has not yet met, so we will plan to recess until after the Pensions Commission meets later today. I'm thinking it may meet later today. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And along that line, I'm just wondering, do you have any sense of when that Pensions Commission will be getting together?
You could ask Senator Friends.
Senator, we're waiting. Senator Friends, do you know when the Pensions Commission is planning to meet? No. Senator Pratt, the answer is no. We will wait. If it's going to be really late, we will adjourn the committee and meet sometime tomorrow. But we'll wait and see when the Pensions Commission does. Senator Friends and Senator Pratt.
Mr. Chair, I didn't mean to be brief. Members, it is still possible the Pension Commission will meet tonight. That would be my preference by 1,000 miles. Having said that, just talking with Senator Murphy here a little bit more about some of the details, and I think it's also possible we would not meet. So I think we should have sort of a drop dead time of, let's say, 7 p.m., if that's acceptable to members. And I would estimate if we meet tonight that the Pension Commission would need less than an hour to do its business. So that's my long-winded way of saying, Mr. Chair, if we have not had a pension meeting called by 7 p.m., it will have to be sometime after 7 p.m., not tonight.
So, so we will have finance only if Pensions Commission is meeting by 7 o'clock, because then we would have presumably 8 o'clock here.
That's my
we will
hope,
not,
Mr. Chair.
We will not meet after 8 o'clock if they're not done. With no further business, this committee is in recess.